The surveyor cleared his throat and pointed to the orange stake he'd just hammered into the ground. "Ma'am, this is your property line." My mother looked confused. My father's face went from annoyed to shocked, and my brother Marcus just stared at the stake that was planted directly in the middle of what they thought was their driveway. Because for 6 months, they'd been telling me I couldn't handle owning property alone, and now they were standing on mine. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And tell me where you're watching from. My name is Harper, and I'm 33 years old. I'm a senior software engineer at a tech company in Austin. I've been coding since I was 15, working professionally since 22, and saving aggressively since my first paycheck. Last year, I bought a house. Not a condo, not a townhouse, a real house with land. 4 acres on the outskirts of Austin with a 3-bedroom ranch-style home. I bought it with cash, no mortgage, no co-signer, no help from anyone. $385,000, the culmination of 11 years of saving, investing, and sacrifice. My family thought I was insane. "Women don't last long alone," my father said when I told them I was buying it. "You'll get scared," my mother added, "living out there by yourself. What if something happens?" My older brother Marcus laughed outright. "You'll be begging to move back in with mom and dad within 6 months." But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was what came after I moved in. I closed on the house in March, moved in 2 weeks later, spent my first night alone listening to the silence, feeling proud of what I had accomplished. I'd bought furniture, set up my home office, planted a garden. I was building something that was mine. 3 weeks after I moved in, my parents showed up, unannounced. "We wanted to see the place," my mom said, walking in like she owned it. My dad looked around critically. "It's smaller than I thought." "It's 1,200 square feet," I said. "Perfect for one person." "For now," my mom said. "But what about when you get married?" I was 33 and happily single. But that didn't matter to them. They walked through every room, pointing out things they'd do differently. "You should knock out this wall. This carpet needs to be replaced. The kitchen is so dated." I'd specifically chosen this house because I loved it exactly as it was, but they couldn't see that. When they finally left, my mom hugged me. "Call us if you get lonely," she said. "You can always come home." This was my home, but she didn't see it that way. A month later, Marcus showed up with his wife Sienna and their 2 kids. "We were in the area," he said. "Thought we'd stop by." I hadn't invited them, but they came in anyway. The kids immediately started running around, touching everything. Sienna made comments about how bare my walls were. "Don't you want to make it feel more like a home?" It felt like a home to me. They stayed for 3 hours. The kids spilled juice on my new couch. Sienna used my bathroom and left it a mess. Marcus kept asking when I was going to settle down. "You can't hide out here forever, Harper," he said. "I'm not hiding. I'm living." "Alone," he emphasized. "That's not natural." When they finally left, I noticed something they'd parked in my yard, not on the gravel driveway, in the grass, left deep tire ruts. I told myself it was an accident. But I didn't know then. It was just the beginning. Over the next few months, the visits increased. My parents would drop by just to check on me. Marcus and his family would show up for Sunday drives. They never called first. They just appeared. My mom started bringing groceries. "I know you're busy with work. I don't want you starving out here." I had a fully stocked kitchen, but she'd fill my fridge with things I didn't ask for and wouldn't eat. My dad started fixing things. A loose cabinet door, a squeaky hinge, things I could have easily fixed myself. But he'd show up with his toolbox and just do it, without asking. "You need a man around," he'd say, "to take care of things." I was a software engineer who'd built my own desk and installed my own smart home system. I didn't need anyone to fix a cabinet door, but they wouldn't stop. Then it got worse. I came home from work one day in July to find Marcus in my backyard with a lawnmower, mowing my lawn. "What are you doing?" I asked. "Your grass was getting long," he said. "Thought I'd help out." "I was going to mow it this weekend." "Why wait? I was free." He'd used my mower from my shed that he'd somehow gotten into. "How did you get in my shed?" I asked. "Side door was unlocked." "It wasn't. I always locked it." "Do you have a key to my property?" I asked slowly. He shrugged. "Mom made a copy of your house key for emergencies." My blood went cold. "When did she make a copy?" "When you gave her the key to water your plants last month." I'd gone on a work trip for 4 days, asked my mom to water my plants, and she'd made a copy of my key without telling me. I want it back," I said. "All the copies." Marcus laughed. "Relax, Harper, we're family. It's not a big deal." It was a very big deal. I changed my locks the next day. Didn't tell anyone. 2 days later, my mom called. Furious. "I tried to come by and my key doesn't work." "I changed the locks," I said calmly. "Why would you do that?" "Because you made copies of my key without my permission." "Harper, that's ridiculous. We're your family. We're just trying to help." "I didn't ask for help. You're being paranoid. Living out there alone is making you weird." I hung up. For 2 weeks, they stayed away. I thought maybe they'd finally gotten the message. I was wrong. I came home from work on a Friday to find my parents' car in my driveway and my father on my roof. "Dad, what are you doing?" He looked down. "You had some loose shingles. I'm fixing them." "Get down, now." "Harper, I'm almost done. Get down." He climbed down, looking annoyed. "You're being ungrateful. I'm trying to help maintain your investment. This is my investment, my house, and you are trespassing." My mother came out of the house. Out of my house. "How did you get in?" I asked, my voice shaking. "The back door was unlocked." It absolutely was not. I walked around to the back. The lock had been jimmied, scratches around the handle. They'd broken in. "Did you break into my house?" I asked. My dad scoffed. "Don't be dramatic. We used a credit card. The lock was cheap anyway. You should upgrade." Something inside me cracked. My mom reached for my hand. "Sweetheart, we're worried about you. You're out here all alone. What if something happened? What if you get hurt and no one's around?" Her eyes were genuinely concerned. For just a moment, I saw it. She really believed she was helping. She really thought I couldn't handle living alone. She really was scared for me. "I'm fine, Mom," I said quietly. "But what if you're not?" she whispered. "What if something goes wrong?" And I almost gave in. Almost said they could have a key. Almost said they could visit whenever. But then my dad spoke. "Women aren't meant to live alone, Harper. Eventually you'll realize that when you get married, your husband will thank us for keeping this place up." And just like that, the moment shattered. "Get out," I said. "Harper, get out of my house. Now." My father's face hardened. "Fine, but you're going to regret this attitude. When something breaks and you can't fix it, don't come crying to us." They left, but I knew they'd be back. They always came back. I sat in my living room trying to figure out what to do, and then I remembered something. Something the realtor had mentioned when I bought the house. I pulled out my closing documents. Started going through the property survey. My house sat on 4 acres. I'd known that. What I hadn't paid attention to was the exact property lines. According to the survey, my property extended further east than I'd realized. Much further. I looked at the map more closely. Then I pulled up Google Maps, and my heart started racing. My parents lived a 1/4 mile away, had lived there for 20 years, and according to this survey, their driveway, the entire driveway, was on my property. I stared at the documents for an hour. This couldn't be right, but the more I looked, the clearer it became. When the previous owner of my property had sold off parcels over the years, the boundaries had shifted. My parents' house had been built in 2003. My property's boundaries had been established in 1987. Somehow, when my parents bought their land and built their house, no one had done a proper survey. They just assumed the driveway they poured was on their property. It wasn't. According to the legal documents, I owned a 20-foot strip that included half of their driveway, a portion of their front yard. The area where they'd planted their mailbox, I called the surveyor who'd done my property assessment. "I need you to verify something." He came out the next day, walked the boundaries with his GPS equipment, set up his transit. After 2 hours, he called me over. "You were right," He said, "Your property line runs exactly here." He showed me on his device a clear line cutting through my parents' driveway. "How is this possible?" I asked. "They've lived there for over 20 years. Adverse possession only applies after a certain time period, and in Texas, it's 10 years of open, hostile, and continuous use. But here's the thing. They'd have to prove they were using it under a claim of right, knowing it wasn't theirs. If they genuinely didn't know, which seems likely they haven't established adverse possession." He pulled out a folder. "I pulled the original surveys. Your parents' survey from 2003 was, let's say, sloppy. The surveyor marked the boundary about 30 feet off. Common mistake with older properties that have been subdivided multiple times. So legally, this is my land?" "Legally, yes. You'd need to file an official survey with the county, but based on the deed and the original 1987 survey, the strip is yours." My mind was racing. What would happen if I wanted to enforce the boundary? He raised an eyebrow. "You could put up a fence. Post no trespassing signs. Legally, you'd be within your rights. They'd have to remove anything on your property or negotiate an easement." An easement. Basically, you'd grant them permission to use your land, usually for a fee or some other compensation, or they'd have to reroute their driveway entirely, which would be expensive. I thanked him and asked him to file an official survey with the county. I had a week before the survey would be recorded. A week to decide if I really wanted to go through with this. Part of me felt petty. They were my parents. Yes, they were overstepping. Yes, they were condescending. But did I really want to tell them their driveway was on my property? But another part of me remembered. The broken lock, the copied keys, the constant messages that I couldn't handle living alone, the dismissal of everything I'd accomplished. Women don't last long alone. I thought about backing down, about just setting boundaries verbally, about being the bigger person. But then my mom called. "Harper, we need to talk about your attitude." "My attitude? You were very rude to your father. He was just trying to help with your roof." "He broke into my house, Mom. He used a credit card on a flimsy lock. That's not breaking in. That's showing you that you need better security." I was speechless. "We've decided," she continued, "that we're going to help you whether you like it or not. You're clearly overwhelmed living out there, so we're going to check in weekly. Your father is going to do a maintenance inspection every month, and I'm going to bring groceries every Sunday." This isn't a discussion, Harper. You're our daughter. We're not going to let you struggle just because you're too proud to ask for help. I'm not struggling. You're a single woman living alone on 4 acres. Of course you're struggling. You're just too stubborn to admit it. She hung up. And I made my decision. I called the surveyor back. "File the survey, and I want you to mark the boundaries. Physically." "You want stakes?" "I want stakes, flags, and painted markers. I want it visible." He came out 3 days later, spent 6 hours marking every boundary line on my property, including the one that ran through my parents' driveway. Bright orange stakes every 10 feet, neon pink survey tape strung between them, spray-painted orange lines on the pavement. It was unmistakable. Then I did something else. I contacted a lawyer. "I want to send a formal notice to the property owners at this address." I said, giving him my parents' address, informing them that they're encroaching on my property and need to cease use immediately. The lawyer drew up the letter. Professional, legal, irrefutable. It was delivered by certified mail. My phone rang 30 minutes after the mail was delivered. My father. "What the hell is this letter?" "It's a legal notice that you're using my property without permission." "Your property? Harper, that's our driveway." "Actually, according to the county survey filed this week, it's not. 20 feet of your driveway is on my land, has been since 1987. Silence. "That's impossible." "It's documented. Your surveyor in 2003 made an error. The legal boundary runs right through your driveway. I had it resurveyed and marked." You marked it?" "Yes. Orange stakes. You can't miss them." I heard him breathing heavily. "This is insane. You're doing this because we tried to help you. You broke into my house, Dad. You made copies of my keys without permission. You told me I couldn't handle living alone. You violated my boundaries for 6 months. So you're going to take our driveway?" "I'm going to enforce my property rights. You have three options: remove the portion of your driveway on my land, pay me for an easement, or we go to court. He hung up. 20 minutes later, my entire family showed up. My parents, Marcus, Sienna, all of them standing at my door. I didn't let them in. We talked on the porch. "Harper, you need to stop this," my mother said. Her eyes were red. "This is our home. You can't just take our driveway." "I'm not taking anything. I'm asserting my legal ownership of land that's mine." Marcus stepped forward. "This is petty. You're doing this to punish us." "I'm doing this to establish boundaries, something you've all refused to respect." "We're your family," my mom cried. "Then act like it," I said. "Respect my space, respect my choices, respect that I'm a grown woman who bought her own house and doesn't need you to rescue her. We were trying to help." "You were trying to control me," I interrupted. "You couldn't handle that I did this on my own, that I didn't need a husband or a man or anyone to help me. So you inserted yourselves, made copies of my keys, broke into my house, and told me I'd fail." Tears were streaming down my mother's face. "We never said you'd fail. Dad said women don't last long alone. You said I'd get scared and move back home. Marcus gave me 6 months before I'd begged to leave. You all said I couldn't do this." I took a breath. "And when I proved you wrong, you couldn't handle it. So you kept coming back, kept trying to fix things that weren't broken, kept treating me like a child." "So now you're taking our driveway?" Marcus said bitterly. "No," I said. "Now I'm showing you that I own something you need, and you're going to have to treat me with respect if you want access to it." My father pulled out his phone. "I'm calling our lawyer. There's no way this is legal." "Go ahead," I said. He made the call, put it on speaker. The lawyer asked a few questions, then delivered the bad news. If the county survey confirms the boundary and it matches the original 1987 deed, then yes, legally, that portion of the driveway is on her property. You'd have three options: negotiate an easement, reroute the driveway, or pursue adverse possession, which would be difficult to prove after only 20 years and without documentation that you knew it was her land. My father's face went white. "How much would it cost to reroute the driveway?" he asked. "Conservatively, 15 to 20,000. You'd need excavation, new pavement, probably some landscaping." He hung up. Marcus was furious. "So what, you want us to pay you?" "I want you to respect me," I said simply. "This isn't about money. It's about you understanding that I'm not some helpless woman who needs to be saved. I bought this property. I own it, and I deserve to be treated like an equal, not a child." Sienna spoke for the first time. "She's right." Everyone turned to look at her. "She's right," she repeated. "We've been awful. We show up unannounced. We criticize everything. We act like she can't handle basic life tasks. I'd be pissed too." Marcus stared at his wife. Sienna, "No, Marcus, she's your sister. She has a master's degree, a 6-figure job, and she bought a house with cash. And we've spent 6 months acting like she's going to fall apart any second. It's insulting." The truth was finally being said out loud. We stood there for a long moment. Finally, my dad spoke. "What do you want, Harper?" "I want an apology. A real one." "And then you'll give us an easement? Maybe, if you can prove you'll respect my boundaries." My mother wiped her eyes. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'm sorry we made you feel like you couldn't do this. You're right, you've done an amazing job, and we've been terrible." My dad nodded. "I'm sorry, too, for breaking in, for the comments, for not trusting that you're capable." Marcus was quiet. Then he sighed. "I'm sorry, Harper. Sienna's right. You've been killing it, and we've been acting like you're about to fail. That's on us." I looked at all of them. "If I give you an easement, there are conditions." "What conditions?" my dad asked. "You call before visiting, every time, no exceptions." They nodded. "You return any copies of my keys." "Okay. And you stop treating me like I can't handle living alone. No more fixing things unless I ask. No more surprise groceries. No more comments about needing a man." My father looked uncomfortable, but he nodded. "Deal." I hired a lawyer to draw up an easement agreement. My parents could use the driveway in exchange for $100 per year and a written agreement respecting my boundaries. The first few months were awkward. They'd call before visiting. Sometimes I'd say no, and they'd accept it. Slowly, things improved. My dad came over once, after calling, to help me install a new ceiling fan because I'd asked him to. We worked together for 2 hours, and when we were done, he looked around my house. "You've really made this place your own," he said. "Thanks, Dad. I'm sorry I didn't see it before. I'm sorry I didn't see you." And I believed him. 6 months after the easement was signed, my mom called. "Harper, I wanted to ask you something." "Okay." "My friend Linda is getting divorced. She's looking for a place to live, and she's scared about living alone." I knew where this was going. I was going to tell her she'd be fine, but then I realized, I don't actually know anything about living alone as a woman. I've never done it. She paused. "Could you talk to her? Share your experience? I think hearing from you would help her." I smiled. "Yeah, Mom, I can do that. Thank you." "And Harper?" "Yeah. I'm proud of you. I know I should have said it a year ago, but I'm saying it now. I'm really, really proud of you." I hung up with tears in my eyes. I'm sitting on my back porch right now, looking out at 4 acres of land that's mine, at a house I bought with my own money, at a life I built without anyone's permission. The orange stakes are still there, a reminder of the boundary I had to enforce. Not just property lines, but personal ones. My family respects me now. Not because I'm married, not because I have a man around, but because I demanded it. They said women don't last long alone. But I've lasted, I've thrived, and the property line that once divided us, it's still there. But now they ask permission before crossing it. My mom was right about one thing. Living alone can be scary. But not because I'm not capable, because it forces you to confront who you really are, what you're really worth, what you refuse to accept. And I learned I'm worth more than they gave me credit for. Worth more than their doubts. Worth more than their need to control. I own 4 acres, but the most important thing I own, my boundaries, and no one crosses them without permission anymore.